There is a kind of silence only the Pacific can make. Hampton Sides' book, The Wide Wide Sea, follows one ship into that silence, Captain James Cook's third, and last, voyage. What follows is an original telling of the public record of that voyage, using Sides' book as the frame. It is not a quotation of his prose. If you want his sentences, read the book. On the 12th of July, 1776, Cook left England in HMS Resolution. Charles Clerke commanded the consort, Discovery. 2.5 years later, on the 14th of February, 1779, Cook was killed in the shallows of Kealakekua Bay, on the island of Hawaii. Sides' question, as reviews put it, is simple and hard. How did a captain praised for seamanship, science, and unusual curiosity about indigenous people, arrive at that fatal morning? 2 earlier Pacific voyages had already made Cook famous. Charts of New Zealand. The east coast of Australia. A crossing of the Antarctic Circle. He had helped show there was no vast inhabited southern continent of the kind mapmakers still hoped for. He kept crews healthier than most. He tried to learn languages and customs. By 1776 he was on land in London, and restless. The Admiralty planned a third expedition. Cook took it. The voyage wore 2 faces. The public errand was hospitality, take my home. My, sometimes called Omai, was a man from Araiadia who had lived in England after the second voyage and become a London curiosity. The hidden face was empire. Find a northwest passage from the Pacific. Chart, record, and claim, before Spain, France, or Russia did. Resolution was already tired from earlier service. Discovery was the second ship. Hospitality and ice. That split is the engine of Sides' book. Imagine the voyage as a line drawn between 2 climates. One end is a lagoon, a house, livestock, a man returned to his islands as public theater. The other end is pack ice, and a passage that will not open. Sides treats that line as the real plot. Not a marble statue of Cook. A man sent to do a kindness, and a conquest, on the same tide. South first. Cape Verde. The Cape of Good Hope. Then the Southern Ocean, which does not forgive. Adventure Bay, Van Diemen's Land. Then New Zealand, the land of the long white cloud. On the second voyage, men from Adventure had been killed at Grass Cove, in 1773. This return sits under that memory. Public journals already note Cook growing sharper. More flogging. Less patience. More willingness to answer theft with force. Sides treats the change as real, and refuses a single neat cause. In the Society Islands, Cook tried to settle Mai with gifts, a house, and animals. The homecoming was spectacle. Later tellings call it lonely, and unstable. Through Tonga and other islands, food, faith, sex, and property kept misfiring between crews and hosts. January, 1778. The first documented European landing in the Hawaiian Islands. Cook named them the Sandwich Islands. That first stay was mostly peaceful. Then the ships turned toward the American Northwest. Spring, 1778. The coast we now call Oregon and British Columbia. Weeks in Nootka Sound, repairing a leaking Resolution, trading for sea otter skins. Soft gold. Cook's charts of this coast, and then Alaska, became the maps later empires would fight over. Late summer, Bering Strait, then the Arctic Ocean. Ice closed the supposed passage. They turned south to winter in Hawaii. The Northwest Passage had not been found. January, 1779. Kealakekua Bay, during Makahiki, a season tied to the god Lono. Later writers, and Sides follows this public debate, note that Cook's arrival lined up with ritual time in a way some Hawaiians may have read as sacred. Cook did not fully understand that. At first, ceremony, food, curiosity. Then hundreds of hungry sailors drained the stores. The ships left in early February. Days later, Resolution's mast failed in a storm. They limped back into the same bay. The festival was over. The welcome had changed. A ship's cutter was taken. Cook went ashore with Marines to bring the High Chief Kalaniʻu out to the ships as a hostage. A tactic that had worked in other harbors. On the beach, it broke. Stones. Shots. A rush to the water. Cook was killed in the shallows. Hawaiians and British died with him. Clerk, already dying of tuberculosis, took command. Some of Cook's remains were later returned, treated according to Hawaiian funerary practice, not thrown away. Clerk tried the ice again, and died at sea in August. John Gore brought both ships home in October, 1780. Sides, as reviewers heard him, will not give you a cartoon villain, or a plaster saint. The Last Voyage shows the Enlightenment surveyor, and the captain who reached for hostages and the lash. First Contact, even when the visitor thought himself careful, was catastrophic for many who met him. Disease. Livestock. Claims. A map that invited the next ships. The killing at Kealakekua is treated as a collision, ritual calendar, exhausted hospitality, theft, and a tactic that had worked somewhere else. The book's reception is as a fast narrative that still refuses a simple hero. Hampton Sides. The Wide, Wide Sea. Imperial Ambition, First Contact, and the Fateful Final Voyage of Captain James Cook. New York, Doubleday, 2024. Dates and places here come from the published Voyage journals, and from public museum timelines. This film is a study aid. It is not the book. It is not licensed by the publisher. The wide sea is still there. The argument is in the pages. Please read them.